The human mind is one of the most powerful and mysterious things. The mind, which is the center of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, is always active. It not only shapes our reality, but also affects every aspect of our lives. When we learn to control and focus our mind, we can understand not only our own mental state, but also that of others. This story will show us how a blind man uses the power and understanding of his mind to answer deep questions posed by a king. It also teaches us that to understand the depths of the mind, we need to keep our mind calm and focused. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived two brothers. The elder brother was blind and his name was Ramu. The younger brother, Shyaamu, was a farmer. Both brothers loved each other very much. Shyaamu worked in the fields all day, while Ramu stayed at home. Despite being blind, Ramu's intelligence and experience made him highly respected among the villagers. Shyaamu's fields were often attacked by animals, which destroyed his crops. One day, Shyaamu thought, "Why don't I ask my elder brother Ramu for help? He can sit in the field and shout loudly when he hears animals coming, scaring them away and saving the crops." He decided to put this plan into action. Shyaamu built a small hut in his field and asked Ramu to sit there. Ramu agreed and started sitting in the field, shouting whenever he heard animals approaching. Ramu's tactic worked. Whenever an animal entered the field, Ramu would shout loudly and the animal would run away. For several days, everything went well. One day, a deer entered the field and started trampling the crops. Ramu tried to scare it away, but just then, he heard a king following the deer into the field. The king asked Ramu, "Hey, have you seen an animal running away from here?" Ramu replied, "O king, I am blind, so I cannot see. But I heard that the animal you are chasing is not worthy of you. You are chasing it for no reason." The king was surprised. He thought, "This man is blind, so how does he know what animal I am chasing and that it is not worthy of me?" He asked Ramu again, "How can you say that the animal is not worthy of me?" Ramu calmly replied, "O king, the animal you are chasing is actually a pregnant deer. I have never heard of a king hunting a pregnant deer. That is why I said it is not worthy of you." The king was deeply impressed by Ramu's wisdom. He ordered his soldiers to catch the deer to confirm if it was pregnant. After some time, the soldiers returned and confirmed that the deer was indeed pregnant. The king was even more amazed and asked Ramu, "How did you know that the deer was pregnant?" Ramu explained, "O king, when the deer entered my field, I guessed it from the way it moved and the sound of its footsteps. The fence around my field is low, and if it had been a regular deer, it would have easily jumped over it. But this deer broke through the fence instead of jumping because it didn't want to harm its unborn baby. That's how I knew it was pregnant." The king was very impressed by Ramu's ability and thought about how this blind man could know so much. To solve the questions rising in his mind, the king went to Ramu and said, "How did you know that the animal was a deer and that it was pregnant?" Ramu answered, "O king, I sit here all day and my hearing is very sharp. I can tell what kind of animal has entered my field just by the sound it makes. Based on that, I shout loudly so that they run away and the crops remain safe." The king was so impressed by Ramu's wisdom that he invited him to the palace and said, "Your knowledge is amazing. Now tell me, is my wife loyal to me?" Ramu listened to the king and replied, "O king, this is a very personal question, and knowing it won't do any good." But the king insisted and said, "You must answer me or I will give you the death penalty." Ramu said, "Okay, king, but for that, you need to leave your wife alone with me in a room." The king was initially angry, but then he thought this might be part of Ramu's test. He ordered his wife to be left alone with Ramu in a room. Inside the room, Ramu said to the queen, "I need to touch you." Hearing this, the queen became extremely angry and started beating Ramu with kicks and punches. Somehow, Ramu managed to escape and ran to the king. Ramu told the king, "O king, your wife is not loyal to you." Hearing this, the king became furious and grabbing his sword, went to his wife. He angrily asked, "Tell me, are you loyal to me or not?" The queen confessed, "O king, I'm not loyal to you." The king was very happy to hear this because Ramu's prediction had come true. He immediately went to Ramu and asked, "How did you know that my wife was not loyal to me?" Ramu replied, "O king, when I told your wife I needed to touch her, She got so angry that she started hitting me with kicks and punches. A loyal woman would never let another man touch her, no matter how angry she is. That's how I knew she wasn't loyal to you." The king was impressed with everything Ramu said, but he had one more question. He asked, "Tell me, am I really my father's son or someone else's?" Ramu looked at the king and said, "O king, it is not necessary for me to answer this question because you are the king of this land. But still, I will tell you the truth. You are your father's son, but you have the shadow of a miserly merchant over you." Hearing this, the king became angry and took his sword to his mother. He asked her, "Mother, tell me the truth. Am I really my father's son or not?" The mother replied, "Son, you are indeed your father's son, but once when I was looking at myself in a mirror, the shadow of a miserly merchant fell on me. That's why you have his shadow over you." Hearing this, the king became happy and immediately went to Ramu. He asked, "How did you know that I have the shadow of a miserly merchant over me?" Ramu smiled and said, "O king, you asked me many questions, and I answered them all truthfully. If it had been another king, he would have rewarded me with many gifts. But so far you have given me nothing, which made me guess that you are miserly." The king laughed loudly and said, "Your wisdom and insight are truly remarkable, but I want to know how you can tell what is true and what is false even though you cannot see." Ramu seriously replied, "O king, even though I cannot see, I have trained my mind to assess every situation accurately. In any situation, 3 things are important. The first is to make decisions based on your senses. The second is to gather clues from others' words and actions. And the third is to trust your intuition. When these 3 things come together, the power of the mind becomes so strong that it can find the truth." The king listened carefully to Ramu's words and understood that true wisdom does not depend on sight alone. He praised Ramu and decided to honor him. This story shows that physical sight is not everything. True knowledge comes from the depth and understanding of the mind. Ramu's story teaches us that we should keep our mind calm, focused and steady so that we can make the right decisions in any situation. The story also teaches us that to understand others' minds, we should pay attention to their words, actions and signals and trust our intuition. Ramu's wisdom taught not only the king, but also everyone that true sight is in the mind, which can recognize the truth and lead to success in life.